lots of candy, and you and your kids are over the sugar coma and are ready to go for this evening. I'm excited about getting to continue this series called Legacy Family Values. And to me, I feel like we need to break that title down just a little bit. You know, Legacy is nearly over 5.5 years old, nearly 6 years old. And in the process, you know, things have changed over the years. But one thing that hadn't changed about the church is that we value what happens at home, and that we value this idea that when we pass away, that our legacy of faith lives on with the people who are closest to us. You know, we can leave a lot of things behind. We can leave behind hurts. We can leave behind money. We can leave behind all kinds of stuff that can be passed along. But the only way that we really and truly leave a legacy is through our kids and through our families. And so I hope that as we continue to take a look at our family values, that we'll begin to understand that there are some things that we have to do and not do if we want to continue that legacy like we'd like to have. So I'm excited about that. Last week, Darren talked to us about the fact that we've got to always make sure, whether we're a parent, whether we're a student, whether we're a child, that relationships are the most important thing. That relationship trump rules. And that doesn't mean that we throw the rules out, but that means we always go back to the relationship, that we look at behavior secondarily to what's going on in the heart. And so today I want us to continue this Legacy Family Values series by taking a look at, well, words. I'd like to say right out of the gates as we begin to talk about our words, and that as a family we value words. There's not a single person in this room, okay? Not a single person in the room who has not been hurt by someone else's words. Not a single person, okay? So we know that up front. Now, conversely, there's not a single person sitting in this room who has not hurt somebody with your words. So we all have that in common. And so as we walk in today, we all understand that, wow, words have this opportunity to either take us down or, interestingly enough, the Bible tells us that we can use words to bring healing. And so I think it's important that we begin to kind of wrap our minds around that. So you guys know, whoever said the phrase, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me," couldn't have been further from the truth. They didn't have any idea what they were talking about. Broken bones heal much quicker than the wounds left by an out-of-control tongue. I know people to this day, and I believe there are people in this room who are still suffering from a tongue lashing from somebody else. So today's message is for you. All right? I'd like to illustrate what I mean by that. So most of you guys know, and I know that you look at me and you think, oh, that's not even possible, but you know, and I continue to say this, the older I get, the better I was. But I used to play football back in high school, and I'd like to think that I was better than I probably was, but I got to start and got to play on the varsity when I was a junior and senior, and got to play a lot. But my junior year, we had a coach. His name was a head coach. His name was Coach Warren. Coach Warren's a great guy. Went on to, after he left Wall, took a couple other jobs and went on to coach Abilene High School and won a couple of state championships at Abilene High School. So we're talking about a guy who was uber successful. He was relatively young when he took over the job at my high school. And anyway, I will just tell you that one of the things that I remember about our games is we would come in at halftime and we'd come in after the game, but sometimes it was even after practice. I got the distinct feeling that if, as a center, okay, I'm just the guy that snaps the ball, tries to block the guy in front of me, you know, pretty simple. If I could do my job, then we'd be winning. And it always seemed like it always came down to me. Now, I've always thought it was interesting. I'd love to go back to my teammates and see if what I felt was really what was going on. But I felt like I took a tongue lashing every single week, sometimes multiple times a week. And it what, you know, if I'm to kind of break things down for you, I can't remember a single thing that he said. I remember that he never used profanity. I just remember that the way he looked at me, the way that he talked to me, made me not a very good player. It was actually the opposite. What he wanted me to do, I didn't do because I was psyched out that he thought I couldn't do it. So he thought I couldn't do it. I ended up not being able to do it. And so I still remember to this day some of the things that happened with that. And so I illustrate that to say that you know what? Words are important. Even a 17-year-old guy, as a 17, I can still remember those words, you see? But our key truth for tonight is, and I hope if you don't get anything else for that, is as a family, we value our words. And I don't want to take a negative spin on words because that's the easy thing to do. You know, if we take a negative value on words, we just never talk, okay? And that doesn't work. We've got to be able to communicate. We've got to be able to talk as a family. And one of the things that happens on a Sunday night is your family may look different than the person sitting next to you. That's okay. Family for us is just going to be those people that make up under your roof. Those people that are closest to you, that you love. And one of the things that we understand, and this is our key truth for tonight, and it comes from Proverbs 12:18. Careless words stab like a sword, but wise words bring healing. Let me say that again for us because it's our key verse. This is one of those you can memorize, okay? It's not hard to figure out. But careless words stab like a sword, but wise words bring healing. This comes from Proverbs, book of Proverbs. Solomon, more than likely the author, wisest person on the earth. And as we take a look at Scripture today, we're going to be looking at a lot of Solomon's words. And so, if he's the smartest guy on the earth, I think we better stop and say, hey, this guy may have known something here. So the first thing is, let's take the negative first, work our way through it so we can get to the positive. So if we look at this verse, let's take that first half, the careless words stab like a sword. So you want to yield the sword, you want to poke people, you want to take them out. You don't do it with a sword, you do it with words. Careless words are weapons. And they're simply words that we don't typically spend a lot of time thinking about. And I want you guys to know that you have a walking, talking hypocrite standing up here on the stage. If I could always get my words right, I'd be perfect. But I'm not. And what I'm saying here for you guys today is we've got to, as a group, figure this out. I truly believe this, but possibly nothing more catastrophic to family life than careless words. Words that come from kids. Words that come from students. Words that come from parents. Words that come from adults. You see, careless words they're words that sting. They're words that hurt. They're words that crush the spirit. And they leave people feeling hurt and hopeless. If you go back to my original story, you can see that there was a lot of hopelessness in my situation. I couldn't seem to do things right, so I didn't. There was hopelessness in that. You know, usually when it comes to careless words, we don't even mean to hurt people. We don't even mean to say some of the words that just kind of pop up without planning. We forget them. We forget those words when we say them. But many times the people that we say them to rarely forget. Now, generally speaking, I want you guys to know that I spent a majority of my time as an adult working in a middle school. For, I guess, 15 years I worked in middle school, which can make me a little bit crazy, I think, if you stop and think about it. But you know what the crazy part about middle school students? I love them. They're awkward, they smell funny, their feet stink, but they're fun to be around because they're honest, they're trying to figure out where they fit in the world. But my favorite thing about middle school students is if you make them mad, about 30 seconds later, they forget all about it. They forget that they were mad. They're good to go. They're great. Okay? That's the difference between a high school student and an adult. You see a high school student and adult, you make them mad, they remember it the rest of their life. They never forget it. If you don't believe me, think about somebody who said something bad to you, some words that hurt you. If you stop and think about it, I bet you can remember the exact place, the exact time, what they were wearing, what you were wearing, all those kinds of things. Those things never seem to leave your consciousness because words have a way of just getting us. And you get the point. Just because you spoke a word out of turn doesn't mean that person forgets the hurt. So we got to learn to muzzle ourselves. We got to figure out, should we say it? Is this the right time to say it? Or do we let it go? Some of you might be thinking, wow, this is a politically correct message. I've got to make sure that I'm watching what I say all the time and only speak positive words or I'm a bad parent. Okay? Now what I'm saying is, the call of every Christ follower is very high. And for us to take captive our words is very important. In Matthew 12:34, Jesus sets the bar extremely high. And he's talking to a group of, I'd call them churchgoers. Back then they're called Pharisees. They're experts in the law. They're the people that went to church who knew more about the law than anybody else, but for whatever reason, couldn't seem to get it right, couldn't seem to live it out. But this is what Jesus, when he's speaking to these guys, says this. Okay, I love the way he starts it out. He didn't just kind of go, hey guys, how you doing? No, he calls them brood of vipers, okay? You brood of vipers, which is pretty strong words from the beginning. I just thought that was interesting. You brood of vipers, how can you who are evil say anything good? And then he follows it up with this gem. For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. Okay, let me repeat that. The mouth speaks what the heart is full of. I remember memorizing this verse, out of the mouth the heart speaks. So simply put, you want to know what somebody really believes? Listen to the words that they use. Hear the words that they say, the way that they say them. That's what's coming out of their heart. And so Jesus is simply saying, hey, you guys need to begin to see that when you speak evil things, when you speak unkind things, that's what's really inside you. And I don't know, that's not a fun thing to think about. But there's no better way for us to be Christ followers than to make sure that our words and our actions match up. Have you ever thought about it? One of the easiest places to speak unkind words are at home. Why is it that homes are the very place in which our words can ultimately stink the most? And I don't have a biblical answer. All I can say is we typically hurt the ones that we love. We typically hurt those that we love. And so we've got to begin to understand that careless words need to find their way out of our lexicon and out of our vocabulary. And James, the brother of Jesus, had some great ideas for that to happen. So if you've got your Bibles, it will be up there on the screen. I want to read this because I think the advice that James gives us in his book, in James chapter 3, verses 2 through 12, speaks really well. It says this: we all stumble in many ways. Anyone who's never at fault in what they say is perfect, able to keep their whole body in check. When we put bits in the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we turn the whole animal. Or take ships as an example. Although they are large and driven by strong winds, they are steered by a very small rudder, wherever the pilot wants to go. Likewise, the tongue it's a small part of the body, but it makes great boast. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. The tongue also is a fire, a world of evil among the parts of the body. It corrupts the whole body, sets the whole course of one's life on fire, and is itself set on fire by hell. All kinds of animals, birds, reptiles, and sea creatures are being tamed and have been tamed by mankind, but no human being can tame the tongue. It's a restless evil full of deadly poison. With the tongue we praise our Lord and Father, and with it we curse human beings who have been made in God's likeness. Out of the same mouth come praise and cursing. My brothers and sisters, this should not be. Can both fresh water and salt water flow from the same spring? My brothers and sisters, can a fig tree bear olives or a grapevine bear figs? Neither can a salt spring produce fresh water. So many of you, as you read this, you realize, yeah, I've been there. I've had some careless words come out of my mouth, and I just can't seem to stop doing it. Here's the thing, you can't stop on your own. You have to ask the Lord for help. This is an area in your life that if you want to stop saying careless words, and you keep saying to yourself, I gotta stop saying careless words, I gotta stop saying careless words, guess what? That's what you're going to do. If you try to do it on your own, you can't do it. You need the Lord to help you. John Calipari is not one of my favorite basketball coaches. He's the head coach for Kentucky. He's kind of a, I don't know how you would describe him. He's one of those guys that I like to root against. But he has a great quote, and I thought I would share it with you today. And if you know me, I always like some interesting quotes. He says this: you can put a bucket of ice cream in a bucket of poop, and it's still poop. Okay? But if you put a bit of poop in a bucket of ice cream, it isn't ice cream. Okay, did y'all get that? You want to repeat it? No? So you got ice, okay, you got it. All right, so I say that to make a point. It's the same way with our words, with our talk. Less than 1% of our word inventory can ruin and affect all the rest. You might watch 99% of the things that you say, but that other 1% cancels it out. When I read this passage back in James, I can't keep from using careless words around the ones I love without the help of the Lord, and neither can you. You see, my words can either bring life or destruction. Your words can bring either life or destruction, or your family's words either bring hurt or healing. So how do we change from using careless words? Number one, we ask the Lord for help. We continually go back to Him and say, Lord, I can't do this on my own. Okay? One of the things that we can be lied to about this whole world is, I can just do this on my own. I'll pick myself up by my bootstraps and do it on my own. But you can't do it on your own. You've got to ask the Lord for help. Psalm 19:14 says it this way. And it's the perfect scripture for you to pray if you're having trouble with your words. And it's one that I've memorized, and I hope that you'll memorize it as well. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. So it's not just the words that come out, it's what you think about. So let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing. So we ask the Lord for help. And then we begin to identify those careless words in our speech and get rid of them. So those careless words that we typically use, those ones that we go back to, the ones that we don't even think about sometimes, we begin the process of getting rid of those. Things like, and you've heard me say this before, okay? And I need to say it again for myself. Things like name calling. We get rid of that. We choose not to call people names because that focuses on the character of the individual rather than on the particular problem at hand. We get rid of vulgar words. You see, some words are just negative and ugly, and we get those out of our vocabulary. We also get rid of words that hurt the heart, like saying, I'm disappointed in you. And I know that may be a word that you use. Okay, choose to be disappointed in their behavior. Don't choose to be disappointed in them. And I don't know if you have anybody like this, but you get rid of things like exaggeration. Okay? I don't know if any of you guys do this, but you always do that. You never listen. You're just like your mom. Okay, I'm going to say that. All right. We get rid of exaggeration. And finally, other thing that we need to get rid of is disgust. Okay, guys, if you're sitting in the room, this is something that can be difficult for you, but disgust is that it's not just what you say, it's more about what your body language says. And part of what we communicate mostly is not just our words, but the way that we communicate. So we've got to get rid of disgust. So going back to our key verse, as our 2-point message here, we've got to look at this second part. So careless words, they stab like a sword. Okay? But wise words bring healing. So kind of interesting. We got this chance with our words, our tongue. We can either do really, really, really bad or really, really, really good. Okay? And remember, we've got to seek out some help. So remember that you got to watch how you communicate, what you say. You want to know how you're doing with your nonverbal? This is something Marshall Lyles talked to our unshaken foster and adopted dads about this past week. So you want to know how you're doing with your nonverbal or your verbal or all those things above? Everybody's got not everybody, most of you parents out here have a smartphone. Okay, students, I suggest that you do this as well. Just click that smartphone on and record yourself when you're talking to your parents. See how you do. Parents, when you're instructing your kids, pick that thing on, see how you do. See what you sound like. One of the things that I'm learning is that for 5 years of my life, I was an assistant principal. And when I talk to my kids and I feel like they need to be, maybe some things that I need to talk to them about, I use the assistant principal's voice instead of the dad's voice. What I've come to learn over the last couple of years is my kids don't need another assistant principal. They just need a dad. And so I have to watch my voice quality. Marshall Lyle says also to monitor your facial expressions and your body language. Got to get your body in control as well. Okay? And then, I know this is going to sound crazy, but this goes for everybody in the room. If you want to watch how you handle the words, you got to practice self-care. You got to find a hobby. You got to find something that you enjoy doing, and do that, so that when you come back and you're around your family, you can take care of them because you've taken care of yourself for a moment. And then finally, with that, this is probably the most important thing, and this is what Marshall Lyle says as well, is to meditate on the Word of God. You want to get it right with your words. If you want to bring healing with your words, then meditate on the Word of God. Okay? So I want us to look at how we get to those wise words. Okay? The first thing that we got to do, and I'm going to bring this back from Epic. We've got to involve God in our daily conversations. We got to continue to bring up God in our daily conversations. Parents, key point here. Help your kids see God as loving, approachable, and involved. And the way that you do that is by being loving, approachable, and involved. So make sure that you do that. Parents, also create an environment where your kids want to talk to you about the things of God rather than feel like they're forced to. Make it something that's just a normal part of your everyday life. And everyone here, this is for everybody, choose to focus on relationships rather than behavior. Kids, students, love your parents and your siblings. Students, have an attitude that shows that you're open to hearing what is being said. So we involve God in our daily conversations, and then we've got to, and this is the toughest one, is we've got to choose to use wise words. And so I'm going to go right back to the wisest person on the face of the earth who ever walked it. I'm going to look at Solomon and what did he have to say? What were some of the things that he said about what words that we should use? Okay, Calvin Coolidge says it this way. I love it. One of our presidents. He says, "I've never been hurt by anything I did not say." Okay, there's other things that we do need to say, but he just got this idea that, man, as long as I keep my mouth shut, I'm probably pretty good. Okay, so words that we want to use that are wise words, first of all, are controlled. We need to have controlled words. Proverbs 21:23 says it this way: "Those who guard their mouths and their tongues keep themselves from calamity." So that just gives me this idea that I've got to make sure that when I use words, that I'm taking an opportunity before they come out of my mouth to know what's going to be said. So I don't run by the seat of my pants. I'm being controlled, and I'm being controlled by the Spirit of the Lord, and not my anger. Okay, so that's a key thing for us to understand. We are controlled by the Holy Spirit and not by our anger. So our words are controlled. Also, we need to have words that are encouraging. Proverbs 15:23 says it this way: "A person finds joy in giving an apt reply, and how good is a timely word." You guys have experienced that, when somebody says the right thing to you at the right time when you're down. Those words are encouraging. Those words bring healing. So our words need to be controlled and encouraging. And here's an interesting one, especially for our dads. Our words need to be soft. When we're talking to our family, we need to learn to be able to use soft words. Proverbs 15:1 says it this way: "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." I used to teach, and I had a student who came into my class with lots of behavior issues, and one of the things that I learned over time was if I ever raised my voice, I was in trouble with him. So what I learned to do over time was when he would begin to get ramped up, I would go over to his, they call it proximity, when I go over close, but I wouldn't get too close, and I would just whisper. And you know what he would do when I whispered? He'd lean in to hear what I had to say. And when he leaned in, his anger went away. Because he learned, hey, just get rid of that. How many of us could use that in our homes? This idea that we've got to use some soft words. And then finally, we've got to use caring words. Proverbs 16:24. "Gracious words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul, and healing to the bones." A boy was born with a birthmark, his dad told him, "Well, I'm glad you have that. That's how I find you in a crowd." The little boy told another guy, "I feel sorry for people without a birthmark like mine." You see, the Father's words made all the difference. You know, many of you today are sitting here and many of you are probably victims of hurt words, but you've also used some words with your family that you're not very proud of. I'd like to kind of sum up today's message and conclude today's message with my story with Coach Warren. Many of you probably, when I told you that story, like, man, I'd like to meet that guy and punch him in the face one time. And at times over my life, I probably felt that way. But about 10 years ago, I had an opportunity to go on a ski trip with a bunch of guys, and love going skiing. We're going to Ruidoso, and so we're off on this road to Ruidoso. And when you guys go with me on a ski trip, we get out in West Texas. Okay, just so you understand how this works. I know all the mascots of all the high schools once we get out west, and so I'll start telling you, like, so we were stopped at the convenience store in Post, and everybody knows that the Post is what?
Panthers.
Oh, Panthers, come on. Antelopes, come on. All right, so anyway, we're stopped at the Stripes convenience store, and I'm going in, and lo and behold, there's Coach Warren. Now, that had been 15 years since I graduated high school at that time, and I don't know about you guys, but I've changed a little bit since high school. But I walked up to him, and I just wanted to say hi, because I knew it was the right thing to do. And I said, "Hey, Coach." And he goes, "Hey, Clint." And I was so surprised. And what was most surprising to me after that was he stopped and said, "Hey, I need to talk to you for a second." I'm like, "What, dude? I mean, I haven't seen you in 15 years. What, dude?" And he goes, "You know, when I took that head coaching job," he said, "there was a lot of pressure and I was a young guy." He said, "and I said a lot of things out of control. And one of the things that I knew that as I came across some of you guys, that I needed to stop and apologize. And he said, I just wanted to stop and let you know that, hey, I'm sorry for my words." And I don't know about you guys, that meant a lot to me. All the things that had happened before, I've been able to wipe the slate clean, thankfully because of the Lord. But when he said that, wow, that was meaningful to me. And I don't know about you guys, but there are people in your lives that you've used some careless words with. And what I can tell you is, it would mean the world for you to say, hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for using those words. And to be specific and to realize that, you know what? I want you to receive some healing from that. So if we've used careless words in the past, one of the ways that we bring healing is by choosing to use those healing words. And so one of the best healing words that we can offer is the gift of apology. And so I want you guys to remember that. Will you pray with me? Lord, as we hear a message like tonight, bring up a lot of hurt, can bring up a lot of not so good things. And Lord, what I'm convinced of is the hardest part about this is we can hear a message like tonight and just walk on out the doors and nothing changes. Lord, I'm convinced that's not what you want. It's not what you desire. Lord, you long for us to not merely hear the words, but to do what they say. So Lord, would you give us strength today to walk over that person that we've messed up with and just say, I'm sorry. Lord, even if it's somebody in our family, even if we don't want to, will you give us the words to say? Will you work on our hearts? Because Lord, we realize that what's in here, what's in our hearts, comes out our mouth. So Lord, help us with that. Give us the strength. Lord, help us to be more like you and to follow your examples, to not be a brood of vipers. But Lord, to be people that when we show up, people say, I don't know what that person has, but I love the way they talk to me. Lord, will you give us the strength to do that? And I pray this in Jesus' name.